the point of this research really is to think with teachers about how you can leverage the learning sciences and the research that's focused on specific capacities in the service of supporting a whole person, because your job is not to stitch together all this stuff into a Frankenstein monster. It's to teach and support us in engaging in the kinds of thinking and feeling and relating that actually grows us and our skill sets as humans.
Hi everyone, I'm Flossie Chua. I'm from Project Zero at Harvard Graduate School of Education. I'm really excited to be chatting with Mary Helen Immordino-Yang today about her forthcoming ISV Reignite session with all of us.
Hi, I'm Mary Helen Immordino-Yang. I'm a professor of education, psychology, and neuroscience. I'm the director of the USC Center for Affective Neuroscience Development, Learning, and Education, CANDLE, here at USC.
So could you say a bit about what the Frankenstein problem means?
So often in the learning sciences, so to speak, and in educational psychology, we think of the different dimensions of a person, their cognitive skills, their quote unquote non-cognitive skills, their soft skills, their emotion skills, math, English, all these different pieces as being kind of different parts of a person. And then all these scientific data come in on these different parts and mechanisms, and then teachers are somehow in the middle supposed to, integrate all these together and stitch them together to make, not just a Frankenstein monster, which is all these stitched together. This is how you read, this is how you do math, this is how you do emotion, this is how you bring culture, this is how you do physical health, all these pieces kind of integrated. But actually, you've got a whole real person who's dynamically got all of those things emerging as among their capacities that they're conjuring all the time. So we're really not these sort of stitched together bunches of different skills and dispositions. We're really whole people thinking and acting in the world.
Yeah, and I know your research started before the pandemic struck. Has it changed in any way or morphed in any way since the pandemic?
That's a good question. I mean, there's the practical answer, which is like we couldn't run the neuroimaging scanners during this pandemic, right? But I assume you mean something more interesting, which is like how has what we've learned from the pandemic or what's going on post-pandemic shaped our research questions? And there, I think I'm seeing a lot of awareness now in the education sector, writ broad, policymakers, parents, teachers, kids themselves, that we can no longer really think of emotional learning and social capacities and wellness and belonging as being kind of separate dimensions of the person from their quote unquote learning. It's now really painfully obvious that these things are deeply intertwined in the same person. It gets back to that Frankenstein idea. If anything, it's really taught us that it's serious, that we need to really think about people and education in a new way. But now it's getting to be very clear to almost everyone that we just can't pretend anymore that soft skills are different from cognitive skills, that people have these different sets of skills that somehow they have to put together into a person, and you get your emotion out of the way and then you can do your math and all that kind of thing. That's really just not how people learn and develop. It doesn't correspond to our neurobiology. It doesn't correspond to the ways in which we culturally and socially construct meaning. And it certainly doesn't support mental health and wellness, either of individuals or of societies.
So maybe just a last quick question. I think your work focuses a lot on the concrete narratives and the abstract ones. Could you say a little bit about that?
That the real hallmark of a human being that other species do not seem to share to nearly the degree we do is the ability to have ideas that transcend particular concrete contexts and kind of relationships among symbols and contexts. We can move into another realm where we construct cultural ways of understanding and building meaning and thinking and representing ideas and potential ideas that don't exist yet in historical contexts and values and beliefs that have no real physical instantiation in the world or in relationships among things in the world. And that is the hallmark of human cognition, and it's the drive that makes us whole as human beings. There's a lot that we don't know but we're building on the shoulders of a century of research that really points us in this direction. And now we're actually able to demonstrate that there is actual biological, neurobiological, and psychological evidence that these ways of thinking and being are good for people. And so, we're really moving toward very strongly advocating for major reforms in the way we do mainstream education.
That is so exciting, Mary Helen. I'm so excited to hear about this, and I can't wait to have you at the session